Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the video for chapter 5 hydrocarbon 5.1 alkane. This video we will learn to define and classify hydrocarbon into aliphatic and aromatic and saturated and unsaturated compound. We will draw the structure and name the compound according to the IUPAC nomenclature for straight chain and branch alkanes, cyclic alkanes as well as alkyl group. Okay, so what is meant by hydrocarbon? The name of our topic itself. Hydrocarbon are organic compound which contain only carbon and hydrogen. So hydro ni originally from our hydrogen, carbon ni memang from our carbon lah. Okay, for the hydrocarbon, we're going to learn 5.1 our alkene and we will learn about 5.2 alkene. Alkene ni where we have our carbon-carbon double bond. Okay, so for the hydrocarbon, it actually can be classified into aliphatic and aromatic. So for aromatic hydrocarbon, it contain one or more of the benzene ring. So here is actually the benzene ring itself. But then what we're going to look further in this chapter is the aliphatic lah. Okay, so for the aliphatic hydrocarbon, it could be divided into three. Alkane, where it is a saturated compound which contain only carbon-carbon single bond. We have alkene, which is unsaturated compound and contain carbon-carbon double bond, and alkyne, which contain carbon-carbon triple bond. So alkyne is unsaturated compound as well. For the case of alkane and alkene, we do learn about the cyclic compound. For alkane, we have our cycloalkane, and for alkene, we have our cycloalkene. Okay, so what is actually meant by saturated, unsaturated? Okay, saturated compound is where the compound only contain single bond and has no multiple bond. And it will have the maximum number of bonded hydrogen atom. Okay, because we have our carbon single bond here, and then we're going to make sure that the carbon must have 4 bonds. So the rest of the bond must be bonded to our hydrogen, and then when we draw our ethane, the molecular formula will be C2H6. Okay, for the unsaturated compound, it will contain multiple bond, be either double or triple bond, and it will possess fewer number of bonded hydrogen atom. Okay, so for example, we have our ethene. Remember, alkene carbon-carbon double bond, and then we're going to finish up. Make sure the carbon must have 4 bond. But then when we draw it here, we know that the hydrogen is 4. C2H4. When we compare it to the saturated compound, the maximum is C2H6. Okay, so since it is unsaturated compound and contain the double or triple bond, hence it possesses fewer number of hydrogen. The same goes for ethine here. Ethine is actually the alkyne where it has carbon-carbon triple bond. Okay, so that is actually only the introduction. Next, in this video, what we're going to learn is actually about naming. Here, IUPAC nomenclature. IUPAC stands for International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. Okay, so how to name the compound itself? So here is actually for the straight chain alkane. So what is meant by straight chain alkane is actually where carbon, this is actually an example of straight chain. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a straight one. We don't have any branches or substituent. Okay, again from here, remember this is I believe this the naming itself we have learned during your secondary school. And 1 must be methane, 2 ethane, 3 propane. Here, I believe this one is not that confusing. And make sure 6 hexane, 7 heptane, 8 is octane, 9 is nonane, and 10 is decane. Okay, because this is actually alkane, so that's why the end of the naming must be in, A-N-E, A-N-E. Okay, so this one is quite straightforward because it is a straight chain. Okay, how about if we have our substituent? Okay, so what is meant by our substituent? Okay, for example, here is an organic compound. So if we look here, the straight chain, the longest carbon chain here is 5. So 5 we will name it as pentane. But then again, we do have our carbon here and this carbon, right? So we can't name it as pentane because pentane is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only this one. This one is pentane. This one is not pentane because we have this is what we call our substituent. The other group that attached to our alkane itself. Okay, usually the substituent we will define it as actually as our alkyl group. Okay, so what is actually alkyl group? It is a group derived by removing a hydrogen from our alkane, where we're going to name the alkyl by dropping A and E from the end of alkane and add YL. Okay, so for example, at the here I'm going to show it to you. We have our methane, CH4. Okay, so for our alkyl group, we're going to remove one hydrogen. So what will be the structural formula is here, CH3. Okay, but then the naming won't be methane because the difference is that here it has 3 hydrogen. So this the starting is still the same, METH, meth ni, tapi dia akan jadi methyl ataupun methyl. Okay, so ethyl ni pun originally is from ethane. Okay, so when this is act as substituent macam ni, the one that attached to the longest carbon chain, okay, we're gonna name it the same name as our alkane, cuma the end there must be YL. Okay, so let's look for the examples. Okay, so here we have our propyl. So propyl ni originally from our propane. So again, we got 1, 2, 3. 3 carbon. 1, 2, 3. Okay. For the propyl, is divided into 2. Ada propyl, ada isopropyl. Okay, isopropyl ni, okay, while propyl dia jadi 1, 2, 3 juga. Tapi, instead of straight chain, dia jadi macam, bukan kaki ikan, apa ni? Hint dia, I ni, for you to remember lah ikan. Okay, ni apa ni nama dia? Fish tail, ekor ikan. So this is isopropyl. Because when we count here is 1, 2, 3. But then dia bukan bentuk straight chain. Dia bentuk macam our fish tail. So nama dia adalah isopropyl. Okay, butyl ni originally from our butane. Remove one H, jadilah butyl. Okay, for the isobutyl, okay, at the end here, okay, it's still when we count here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why we got butyl. But it's not a straight chain like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a straight chain. We know at the end here, sama juga macam ikan. So ikan, iso, like a fish tail kita. So isobutyl. Okay, for the butyl, here we have our sec-butyl. Sec-butyl ni, okay, again, when we count the number of carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4. So butyl. But why is sec? Because it's actually this one is a secondary carbon. So it's bonded to 1, 2 carbon. So we call it as sec-butyl. Okay, next is actually third butyl. Okay, between sec-butyl dengan third butyl is always been used lah untuk naming. Okay, third butyl ni dia macam kaki ayam. Because remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbon. Okay, tapi dia bentuk dia kaki ayam. Dia lain Iso is actually memang, it's like your fish tail. Memang 2 je lah kan. Mana ada ikan ada 3 tiba-tiba. No. Ni third butyl ni macam kita punya kaki ayam. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kaki ayam. Okay, and for the pentyl, and then for, this is neopentyl. Neopentyl ni is actually from originally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tapi usually pentyl does not act as substituent lah. Tapi kalau neopentyl ni, okay, dia macam kaki ayam juga, tapi dia ada extra lagi. Dia sebab kita kira ni 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then tapi pada carbon yang kiranya the substituent carbon 1 ni, is bonded to it macam mana ada kaki ayam. So that is neopentyl. Okay, so the rest of the substituent, we're going to learn yang cyclic compound pun can be the substituent. So kalau cyclopropane, when substituent jadi cyclopropyl. Cyclobutane, cyclobutyl. Okay, the same goes for cyclopentyl and cyclohexyl. Okay, what is a phenyl here? Okay, phenyl here is actually originally, it is from our benzene ring. Benzene ring is C6H6. Okay, when we remove one of the hydrogen, dia punya nama lain sikit. Dia akan jadi phenyl, C6H5. Okay, so that is actually the naming of the substituent. It's quite a lot. Dia macam, banyaknya. But it's okay. So now let's look for the examples itself.
Let's look at the example. So sambil tu kita akan tengok rule lah. Okay, number 1, look at the longest continuous chain. So when I count, the longest continuous chain means adalah 6. Be it right hand side ataupun downwards, masih lagi 6 carbon. Okay, so the parent name ataupun the longest continuous chain tu, nama dia adalah hexane. Okay, but actually this is not hexane sebab carbon number 5 ada lagi satu lagi substituent ataupun branch dia. Okay, so sebenarnya ini adalah skeletal, but we know it's actually CH3. And CH3 naming dia adalah methyl. Okay, pada carbon number 5, so kita tengok carbon number 5 adanya hexane ni lah. Okay, is it the correct name? Tapi kita tengok rules number 2. Kalau boleh kita nak give the substituent the lowest possible number. So if I count 1 until 6, but right now I'm going to count it from my right hand side pula. So I'm going to use my purple. Okay, masih lagi nama parent dia adalah hexane, tapi kali ni nama dia 2-methyl hexane. So okay, so kita nak tahu which one yang akan jadi nama dia. Again, kita nak substituent the lowest possible number. So namanya bukan 5-methyl hexane, kita akan ambil 2-methyl hexane. So I'm gonna erase the orange one. Okay, so Miss padam lah. So this is naming the substituent the smallest number. Okay, question B. So kita again, number 1 kita nak locate the continuous, the longest continuous chain. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, tu kalau straight Miss buat dapat 6. Tapi kalau Miss count ke bawah ni, downwards, I got 7 carbon. So yang mana satu kita akan pilih? The longest continuous chain is 7. So I'm gonna erase it. Okay, so nama parents dia adalah heptane. Okay, tapi okay, kita tengok dia ada branch dia lah substituent dia, which is our CH3. So dia adalah 5-methyl heptane. Okay, tapi if I count here, contohnya from my right hand side from downwards, Miss akan dapat nama lain pula. I'm gonna got 3-methyl heptane. So again, we want the smallest substituent, the lowest possible number. Okay, so kita akan ambil 3-methyl heptane. So I'm gonna erase the red one. Okay, macam mana pula C? Again, I'm gonna count the longest continuous chain. So anyway, I'm gonna count it. I'm gonna got 5. So daripada atas, I'm gonna do the U shape pun 5 juga. So I'm gonna erase it. Okay, so sama jugalah mana-mana, tak payahlah. Okay, so here dia adalah nama panjang dia pentane. Tapi pada carbon number 2 and 4 actually ada our CH3. Okay, yang ini Miss buat expanded bagi kamu nampak sikit lah. Okay, so we have our methyl. Tapi methyl kita ni actually there's 2. So kalau 2, dia sebenarnya bukan methyl saja. Methyl maknanya ada 1. Because we have 2, nama dia adalah dimethyl. Okay, kat sini tak ada. Okay, but please add in your notes. Okay, prefixes. Okay, kalau 2, di, 3, tri, 4 adalah tetra. So sebab here we have 2, so nama dia adalah dimethyl pentane. Okay, tapi again we have to specific pada nombor berapa. So actually nombor 2 for dimethyl pentane. Okay, again yang ini please add in your notes as well. Okay, so kenapa naming dia macam ni Okay, so contohnya kalau between alphabet ataupun between letters tu, kita tak akan buat any space lah, no need for space, kita akan tulis rapat. Tapi kalau between the numbers, so contohnya kita ada 2 nombor yang berturut kan, we're gonna use comma. Okay, lepas tu kalau contohnya between number and alphabet, we're gonna use our dash. Okay, so contohnya kita tengoklah 2,4 dimethyl pentane ni kan. Okay, 2,4 between numbers, comma. But then 4 dengan dimethyl, number alphabet, kita guna dash. But between the letters, we're not going to use any space. Question D, try yourself. Okay, question E. So for question E, again, we're going to use our number, the longest continuous chain. So either way, we're going to got 6 points, so it's fine. So ada satu red one dengan green one. Okay, so kita tahu the longest continuous chain adalah hexane. Tapi ni kita tahu ni adalah CH3, which is our methyl. Okay, yang ni substituent yang lain pula. Okay, yang Miss namingkan adalah methyl. Okay, yang pada carbon ni sebenarnya I have CH2, CH3. Okay, alamak tak nampak So sebenarnya dia ada CH2, CH3 if you do your expanded. So kalau CH2, CH3 is your ethyl, maknanya 2 carbon, ethyl lah. Okay, tapi kali ni ada 2 substituent. Kalau satu dia substituent berbeza alfabet dia. So dia ada rule pula, substituent should be listed alphabetically. Ada M dengan E. So between M dengan E, mana yang dulu? Is it M ataupun E? Is actually your E lah. Okay, so first nama kita kena labelkan ethyl dulu. Ethyl pada carbon number berapa? Carbon number 4. Again, between number dengan alphabet kena guna dash. Okay, and then we have our methyl. Okay, methyl pada carbon number 2. Okay, again, kalau pasal naming ni, okay, between the letters, kita kena rapat. There's no need for space. Kalau between letters and number, we're going to use dash. Okay, so this is we're going to use the red one. How about if we're going to use the green one? So, kalau green one, dia akan jadi 3-ethyl 5-methyl hexane. Okay, so macam mana? Which one we're going to take? Okay, kalau boleh, again, we want the substituent, the lowest possible number. So, macam ni kita senang tambahkan lah. 4 plus 2, 6. 3 plus 5, 8. So, we're going to take the lowest one, the lowest substituent. So, yang green ni is not the correct answer lah. So, I'm just going to use the green one. So, nama dia lah 4-ethyl 2-methyl hexane. So, for F pula, again, the longest continuous chain adalah 6 carbon. Okay, but then dia punya substituent, satu methyl, satu adalah ethyl. Okay, if I use the green one, the name would be mana dulu? E ke M. So, if you buy unsure, nyanyilah lagu ABC song. So, mesti ethyl dulu. So, dia adalah 4 ethyl 3 methyl hexane. Okay, if this is the green one lah. Okay, kalau the red one macam mana pula? Kalau the red one nama adalah 3 ethyl 4 methyl hexane. Okay, so macam mana kita nak pilih? So previously, kalau example E, okay, kita akan ambil substituent the lowest number kan. Okay, tadi sebenarnya beza ada 6 dengan 8. Tapi dalam kes ni, kalau kita tambahkan, both will get 7. So how we gonna use it? Kita tengok pula rules number 4. So kalau sama sahaja, assign the lower number alphabetically to the first substituent. Okay, so between E dengan M, E lagi apa ni, sepatutnya lowest number lah. Okay, dalam kes ni nombor kita is between 3 and 4. So ethyl mestilah kita nak number 3, methyl we want number 4. So our answer would be 3 ethyl 4 methyl hexane. So I'm going to erase it. Okay, question G and H, you should try it yourself. Let's look here. So when I count the longest continuous chain, okay, so let's count. Okay, so I have the red one and then I have the blue one. Okay, so kita nak tengok lagi. Okay, so based on these two things, we do have 5, 6, 7, 8. Tapi yang ini sama je, so tak nak lah. Okay, so I'm just going to erase it. Okay, so right now this two is the longest continuous chain. Okay, tapi beza dia, kalau I use the red one, I do have 3 substituent ataupun 3 branch lah. But if I use the blue one, I do have 2 branches. So which one I'm gonna take? Okay, so ini tolong tambahkan nota kamu. Choose the longest chain with the highest number of substituent ataupun branch dia lah. So again, tadi kalau kita guna red, kita ada 1, 2, 3. Okay, kalau kita use the blue one, kita ada 1, 2. We only have 2. So again, we want the longest, the higher number of substituents. So we're gonna choose with the red one. Okay, so sekarang let's name the substituent. So here ada 1 carbon, so here methyl. Here I have 2 carbon, so dia ada CH2, CH3 is my ethyl. Okay, how about the last one ni? Ada 1, 2, 3 carbon. So kalau 3 carbon, dia adalah propyl. Okay, so let's name it. Okay, name dia adalah octane. Tapi okay, again remember kita kena list alphabet dulu. So E, M, P. So which one? E dulu baru M, then huruf P. So ethyl pada carbon number 3, 3 ethyl. Lepas tu methyl propyl mana satu? So MNOP, M dulu. So methyl pada carbon number 2, and then propyl is actually pada carbon number 4. Okay, again for the naming between the letter and the number, please use dash lah. But then between letters rapatkan sahaja. Okay, so now let's look question J. The longest continuous chain that we're going to find is actually at the 8. So if I'm going to count it from here, so sebenarnya sini 7. So salah. Alamak. Okay, lepas tu 7. So kalau I count from my right hand side, sebenarnya sama je dengan left hand, dengan red one kan. It's just from the opposite side. Okay, so we're gonna add it into here. Okay, so if I use the blue one, substituent pada number 4, 6, 7. But if I use the red one, ada pada 2, 3 dengan 5. So again, we want the lowest possible number. So kita akan ambil the red one sebab dia adalah 2, 3 and 5. Okay, so I'm just going to use the pink lah, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so again, let's label the substituent ataupun branch kita. Methyl. Yang ini ada 2 carbon here, so dia adalah ethyl. Okay. Okay, for the naming, the longest continuous carbon chain is 8 octane. Lepas tu, bila kita ada octane, what we have here is ethyl dengan methyl. Okay, sebenarnya, tapi methyl kita ada 2. So, dia dah dimethyl dengan ethyl. So, how we gonna name it? Okay, tapi dia kata dekat sini, in alphabetizing, di, tri, tetra, sec. Tu semua tu akan ignore. So, dekat dimethyl akan ambil M, akan ignore di. Kalau ethyl, ambil huruf E. Okay, so which one? Between E dengan M, kita akan ambil ethyl dulu. 5 ethyl. Lepas tu 2, 3 dimethyl octane. Okay, so that's for question C. Okay, again, prefixes kita akan ignore. Question K. So let's count the longest continuous carbon chain. So I have 9. So kalau Miss kira macam ni, here we got 8. Macam mana lagi mana lagi kita nak kira? Okay, so sama je lah. So okay, the longest continuous carbon chain that we got is 9. Okay, so sekarang ni again, kalau I use the purple one, the orange one, we got 4 dengan 5. If I use the green one, is 5 dengan 6. Substituent kita nak small number, so I'm going to use the orange one. Okay, tapi ni substituent dia lain sikit. Okay, kita tengok substituent kita. Here we have C3 carbon here kan. So there is CH2, CH2, CH3. So here is actually your propyl. Okay, so yang ini kita tengok sama je lah. Okay, how about the other one? Okay, labelkan dulu dia adalah propyl. Okay, the other one, kita tengok kat sini pun ada 3 carbon, but it's not the same as our propyl. Tapi we do have the same carbon, number of carbon lah. We have 1, 2, 3. Tapi ni kan macam is it kaki ikan? Boleh lah, layan lah kaki ikan. And then we do have 3 carbon. 3 carbon yang kaki ikan. So kita tengok dia is actually our isopropyl. So kita tengok ada 3 carbon dengan the shape dia adalah kaki ikan. Okay, so here 1, 2, 3 carbon. So the name is isopropyl. So when we're gonna name it, so Miss tulis kat tepi. So ada pilihan dia isopropyl dengan propyl. Okay, lepas tu the longest continuous carbon chain nonene. Okay, kita tengok balik kat sini. Dia kata in alphabetizing, okay, ni apa ni, iso dengan you is not ignored. We're gonna consider bukan propyl, kita akan ambil iso. So dalam kes ni iso dulu baru propyl. Okay, yang di, tri, tetra, sec tu je yang kita ignore. Yang iso dengan you kita tak ignore. Kita ambil I dengan N tu lah. So here dia adalah 4 isopropyl, 5 propyl nonene. Okay, so for that is for question K. L, M dengan N you should try yourself. Cuma Miss nak tolong sikit je. Yang M ni substituent dia. Okay, so yang ni substituent ni you familiar with ethyl. Okay, kali ni adalah kaki ayam. Yang betul-betul kaki ayam. And then kat sini bila kita kira dia ada 4 carbon. Okay, so kita cari 4 carbon yang kaki ayam. So here we have butyl 4 carbon. Lepas tu bentuk dia pun macam kaki ayam lah. 1, 2, 3, 4. So maknanya substituent kita ni nama dia lah third butyl. Okay, so yang ni Miss tolong. But the rest you should do it yourself. Okay, so now let's look for the nomenclature for cycloalkane. So we're only wondering, we're going to name kita punya parents tu tapi dengan cyclic lah. So cyclo apa? So kat yang ini case kita ni cyclopropane. Okay, so next rule dia kata if 2 substituents are present, the number of carbon beginning with the substituent according to the alphabet number. Okay, senang label lah kita punya substituent. Satu adalah ethyl, another one is methyl. And okay, number. Okay, so here contohnya Miss nak start kan. So there are 2 possibility, pink one dengan the blue one. Okay, kalau boleh kita nak substituent. Again kita tengok number in the direction that give the next substituent the lowest possible number. So between blue dengan pink kita akan take the blue one. So I'm going to erase all the pink one. So the name would be, okay, between ethyl dengan methyl, remember kena ikut alphabet. So ethyl dulu before methyl. So 1 ethyl, 2 methyl, cyclopropane. So this is the answer for question A. Okay, so for question B, Dia adalah cyclohexane sebab ada 6 carbon. So kita tengok substituent dia ada apa. Ada methyl here, we have ethyl here, and then another one adalah kita punya methyl. Okay, so kita tengok we're gonna name dia, we're gonna give the number. Okay, next we're gonna take the one with the lowest possible number lah, the substituent. Between 1 and 5, dengan kalau purple one is between 1 and 3. So we're gonna take the purple ones but the smallest number. Okay, but then remember the substituent tu, satu adalah dimethyl, another one adalah ethyl. Okay, so ni Miss bulatkan lah. Okay, so between dimethyl dengan ethyl, remember kalau prefixes di, tri, tetra kita akan ignore. So between methyl ni kita tak akan ambil di, kita ambil from our huruf M. While ethyl ambil E kita, so the name would be 1 ethyl, 2 lepas tu 1 3 dimethyl cyclohexane. Okay, so for question C, now let's look. Bila single ring is attached to single chain with carbon atom greater number. Okay, so yang ini sebenarnya case for question C. So kita tengok cyclic ada 5 carbon, straight chain ada 6 carbon. Okay, tapi kita tengok single chain greater number of carbon atom, so maknanya dia yang akan jadi parent. So dalam case ni, yang parent kita bukan cyclopentane, is actually our hexane sebab carbon dia lagi banyak. Okay, tapi nama dia akan jadi macam mana? So cyclic tu yang akan jadi kita punya substituent. So instead of cyclopentane, dia jadi cyclopentyl hexane. Okay, lepas tu kita sebenarnya itu jadi substituent. Kita bolehlah kira daripada nombor berapa. So if I count from my right hand side, so it's actually number 6. But if I count starting from left hand side, dia dah 1 cyclopentyl hexane ataupun cyclopentyl hexane itself. Okay, question A dengan B ni, tapi kenapa tadi cyclic kita yang jadi parent chain? Yang ini silap pula. Ni sebenarnya cyclopentane. Sebab kita punya cyclic tu carbon dia lebih besar. Question C pun, okay, yang cyclic tu carbon yang paling besar lah, yang paling higher number of carbon. So kita tengok question D, straight chain 5, cyclic 4 carbon chain. So 5 carbon chain tu yang akan jadi parent. So nama dia akan jadi pentane. Okay, pada carbon number berapa yang ada substituent? Pada number 3 kita ada 3 cyclobutyl pentane. Okay, so question E, F, G, you should try it yourself. Okay, but then remember, before you gonna name it, tengok dulu mana satu yang banyak carbon, cyclic ke yang straight chain. So yang banyak tu akan jadi parent.